College J that they first find, went to University G where they teach law firm A's view of the law, and so Advocate H cries foul and says, I don't believe my client will get the best case. I don't want to use that judge. In negotiations with Advocate F, they agree that instead they go to Judge K, who went to both universities, perhaps studied at both universities, perhaps received certificates from educational certifying organizations that certified his understanding of both sorts of law. Judge K renders an opinion. Perhaps rating firm L subscribes to, perhaps purchases directly those opinions from different judges, decides how people are having different contracts judged, and attaches ratings to each types of contracts to help consumers decide which ones are the more successful contracts to use in their arrangements with each other. Now, if you're seeing this sort of description of polycentric law for the first time, and I apologize, there's some much better descriptions out there. I know Stefan Molyneux has done a lot of work on dispute resolution organizations and how they can be organized. I know that Guillory, who will be joining us later, at the Austrian Scholars Conference a few weeks ago, he presented a paper on all the different roles that are possible within dispute resolution. And I wish I'd had the time to go through that paper and bring it into this discussion. I apologize, Gil, for perhaps confusing things by using the wrong terms in this, but what I want to show is different ways that the market can address these things. One of the things I decided with the AnCap Entrepreneur Network is that I'd like to study those different businesses and how they can fit together. Stefan Molyneux makes a nice argument in his discussion sometimes that we'll never know what will develop in the market for solving these problems. That's what I'd like to see us do with the AnCap Entrepreneur Network, is start to study different ways and experiment with different ways that we can solve these problems and see how they interact in the market. It's naturally iterative. It's naturally, we'll constantly be trying to study the market and find ways to adapt. So first of all, I wanted to study how we could build the free society, but then as I started thinking about it, I suddenly realized that there are people today already moving into these positions. There are lawyers who have opinions about how the law can be organized, and other lawyers that have separate opinions about how contracts can be organized. They might have academic disagreements about those differences, or we could just have them create those contracts. We could go to them and ask them to create us a contract that puts down as clearly as they understand it how people can interact, and we can start testing these contracts in the market. We can use the ones that appear best at this stage, and if we have disputes, we try and find different ways of solving them. Further than that, these different law firms that exist today also have universities that exist today where they teach their ideas about the law. Those roles could expand. We could be looking at, suddenly there's not so much to be built. Maybe it's just a small step for me to become an arbitrator that understands each of these different ways of doing contracts. Maybe clients are already contracting with those different forms of law, and maybe if I approach them, that I can act as an arbitrator for them. So that's some of the excitement of the world we live in, that these things are being built before our very eyes, and we can participate in that. For the rest of today, and I will try and wrap this up quickly because I see we're short of time, but for the rest of today, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, tools. I'm hoping that you'd like to collaborate with me to examine the market that's developing for Liberty and Liberty services. I'd like to see what the most effective tools are for doing that. There's social networks, of course. We can work with Facebook, we can work with LinkedIn, we can build new networks through Ning or other toolkits out there. I'd like to discuss that during one of our roundtables today. I believe that's our first one just after lunch. Check the schedule to find out exactly. Something that I've thought might be useful in the past is a wiki, building a large body where we can put these ideas in and keep adapting them as they change. We can sort of crowdsource this research as different people develop different services and want to promote them. As they learn about different opportunities, they can document them in the wiki, and we can return to that to check on the current state of the market. And then, of course, there's conferences like today. When I first saw George's plans for Agora.io, I latched onto it as this is an opportunity for me to take these ideas that I've been working on in my network of one that goes from me out to those things that look interesting to me, and the way to start finding other people that want to cooperate with me to build this. So I hope that if you've got ideas about that, you bring them just after lunch and we can discuss them and try and figure out what sort of tools we can use. The second thing I'd like to come out of today with, besides a plan for the tools we use, is the content, what sort of things we collaborate and discuss. We'll have to address issues such as how open information is and how closed it is in our discussions. Of course, a lot of people, as they're developing businesses, want to keep their ideas close to their chest, develop their ideas and not disclose them until they're ready to advertise them to the world. We'll have to figure out how we address those needs and how we take other needs that we have in businesses to promote our products and to look for services that will serve us. So I expect that we'll be able to use some of the natural tendencies to share our information, and hopefully we can do that through our network, so we can at the same time fill our needs to tell other people about our businesses and to learn about other things going on in the industry. Of course, we have the, added understanding that because one of our competitors might be the state, that we have competitors that have no compunction about kicking down your door in the middle of the night and carting you off to a cell somewhere, locking you in a cage. But, as I said before, I think we'll address those needs and those ways of talking as we start to look at how we fill people's needs for security and privacy. Also on content, there's some large markets out there that I'd like to address. There's Stefan Molyneux's Free Domain Radio, there's Patri Friedman's Seasteading Project, there's the Von Mises Institute, who I'm basically drawing information from at this stage. We might establish connections with them to send more information back to them. There's the Liberty Radio Network I'd like to discuss at our last roundtable of today. Sort of how we put together a marketing plan, how we put together ideas for how we share content. Okay, I've run a few minutes late, so I'll close off here, but thank you for listening in. I hope you'll join us later today. We've got Peter Klein coming up in a few minutes. I'm going to sign off now and get in touch with Peter. He's at a hotel in New Orleans getting ready to go meet with Walter Block. So let me go bring him on the line. In the meantime, I'll remove my notes from the other screen. I'll go look at the chat history, try and address any questions I can. Otherwise, if you have questions, particularly questions about the tools and the sort of content we want to use within the AnCap Entrepreneur Network, I hope you'll bring them to the round table. And I hope you, like me, would like to build businesses for a free society. Thank you.